My name is Jillian Ubando. I am 22 years old and I graduated last year at Ryerson University for my Bachelor's of Design under the Fashion Design program. So I began fashion designing when I was in grade 11. I always had a petite stature, but at the same time I always loved dressing up. I always went to arts banquets, athletic banquets in my high school. I go to church every Sunday morning, so naturally I loved dresses. But because I was so small, I've always found it hard to fit into dresses that I found in stores, or the specific ones that I really liked just didn't fit me how it was supposed to. And because of that, I just decided that I would get my own sewing machine. I bought like a cheap little domestic plastic sewing machine. And I just started sewing myself dresses just based off of like YouTube videos and little blogs I found online. And I would do that like after coming home from school, and eventually I found out that that's what I really liked to do. So that was in grade 11. And by the time I was in grade 12, I designed and sewed myself as well as 6 of my friends' prom dresses for that year, and that's, I guess, where it all began. So what is the philosophy behind my work? I believe that a gown should be made to fit the woman. So for example, I find that these days a lot of women and a lot of brides are going around to a bunch of different stores, trying on a bunch of different dresses, trying to find one that they happen to like and that they happen to fit into. But I think it should be the complete other way around. So I think instead of having a woman or a bride try to fit into a dress that really wasn't made for them, gowns and dresses should be made to fit that woman. So that's the philosophy behind my brand. So in my opinion, the theme and the gown, like, they don't really have to technically always match with each other. Going back to my philosophy, like, I believe the gown should just in the end reflect the woman, the bride, and her personality rather than reflect, you know, the flowers or the theme of your wedding. I know there's a bunch of different blogs and a bunch of different stylists and coordinators who recommend things to brides, you know, and matching your theme and matching your dress and matching your flowers and everything like that. There's a bunch of lists on like how to do everything for your wedding. But in the end, I believe that a bride should choose her dress for herself rather than, oh, you know, because I'm gonna go to the beach for my wedding, this person or this blog told me that this dress, this type of dress should match my beach wedding. I don't believe in that sort of philosophy, which I find a lot of brides tend to get caught up in. I have a lot of clients who are telling me, you know, I read this blog or I read on this website that if I have my wedding here, my dress should look like this. But again, that's all good if that's the kind of ambiance or feel you want to go with. But in the end, again, I believe that it's the gown should just be reflecting the woman, her character, her personality, and whatever she wants rather than what other experts are telling you should have just because you pick a certain theme. So when should a bride-to-be start shopping for her dress? In this case, I'm going to agree with retail stores or boutiques when they tell you usually 9 months to a year before your wedding is a good time to start looking around. And for me, I say that because I need time to figure out all the details with you one-on-one. I need time to look at different fabric options, get them approved by you. And I also have a bunch of fittings that I like to have in between the start and the finishing of the dress, just to make sure every step of the way the dress is turning into the one that you really want. So because of that, I do agree that 9 months is a good time to start shopping. At the same time, if you happen to not have your dress 3 months before your wedding, I could work with that timeline as well. But for me, I like to add in there that on top of that 3 months before your wedding or on top of that 9 months before your wedding, I recommend you actually start shopping around or looking around at different stores to see what sort of styles you like on your body. So for example, I know a lot of women will start, you know, on Pinterest or on Instagram scrolling through different styles and then liking and saving their favorite ones. And let's say a woman sees a mermaid dress that they really like, and they come to me straight away to make them that mermaid dress. Let's say along the way they decide they want a ball gown. For me, because it's custom made, I can't really turn that mermaid dress into a ball gown last minute. Technically speaking, maybe, but most likely not. So because of the nature of custom made, I do suggest that women start trying dresses on first before that 9-month period that they're working with me. So they know which styles actually look good on them and which styles they actually feel more comfortable in. So also I suggest that they try on different silhouettes. So don't only try on mermaid dresses if you think you want a mermaid, but be open to trying on, an A-line or a ball gown just to see how it looks on your body and just to see how you actually feel in that different silhouette. So you know exactly what you want before you come to me and before we start designing the perfect dress for you together. So comparing custom made to retail, it's completely different and it's exactly what it is. So when I say custom made, I literally mean made to measure. So for example, at school when I was in Ryerson, we used to work with Judies or mannequins that had the measurements of a 36-inch bust, a 27-inch waist, and a 36-inch hip, which I don't know about you, but I definitely do not have those measurements or those proportions. So when I say custom made, I literally will measure every part of your body that I need to make the gown, and the dress will be made exactly to your measurements rather than having, those proportions that I just listed that are out there in retail stores right now. So who to bring with you when picking out your dress? Because of my philosophy about the gown being all about the personality and the style of the bride herself, I usually recommend just having 1 or 2 people come with you. So I don't really agree with having maybe up to 5 or 6 or 7 girls with you or whoever with you helping you pick out the dress, just because sometimes 6 or 7 different opinions might sway the bride away from what she actually believes herself. So I don't really agree with having that many people, but it is nice to have honest people with you when you're making important decisions, which is why I recommend 1 or 2, and that usually ends up being the bride's mom and a best or a close friend, which I think is nice to have a narrowed down opinion that helps the bride make important decisions. So you can find me on Instagram at JillianJoyHC. You can also find me on the internet. So my website is www.jillianjoyhc.com. And if you ever have any questions, I also have a frequently asked questions page on my website that should be helpful in giving you more information about my whole process of custom made gowns. And I also have a contact form on my website that will help you reach me if you have any inquiries about a specific gown that you want to have.